ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानामेकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிருக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரௌ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரௌ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं चक्रवाटी ध्रुवमभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ട തോറും ധൃതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ Krishna Hare Jaya Krishna Hare. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the class. Okay, so we'll just do a review of 90 today. So, nothing you want to do it? 90.
Yeah. Om Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namah. Dasakam 90. Vrigamunimohin Yambarishadivritteshu Aitavahyamakatvam Sarva Sarvadi Chaitram Sthitamiha Paramatman Nishkalarvaga Bhinnam Kimapi Yadava Bhatam Taddirupam Tadaiva.
And the first word, Bhrigu. I didn't hear the word Bhrigu there.
Bhrigu.
Yeah.
Murtitrayeshwara Sadashiva Panchakam Yat Prahu Paratma Vapureva Sadashivosmin Tratveshwarastu Sa Vikunta Padastvameva Tritvam Punar Bhajesi Satyapade Tribhage Tatrapi Satvika Tanum Tava Vishnu Mahuhu Datatu Sattva Viralo Rajasaiva Purnaha Sattvat Khatatwamapi Chasti Tvam Tamo Vikara Cheshtadi Kanchatava Shankara Namni Murtao Tam Chatrimurti Yadigatam Purusham Tvam Sarvatmanapi Kalu Sarvamayat Vahetoho Samsantyupasa Pasana Vidau Tadapi Swatastu Twadrupam Ityadi Drudam Bahunaf Pramanam Shri Shankaropi Bhagavan Sakaleshu Tavat Tvameva Manayati Yonahi Pakshapati Tvanishtameva Sahinama Sagasrakadi Vyakyat Bhavat Stuti Parascha Gatim Gadonte Murtitrayadi Gamuvacha Chap Mandra Sastra Syadu Kalashusham Sakaleshwaram Tvam Dhyanam cha nishkalamasau praneva kaluktva tvameva tatra sakalam nijagatananyam samasta sare cha purana sangrahe vishamshayantvan mahimaiva varnyate Trimurti yuk satya pada tribhagataf param padam te katitam na solinaha Yad Brahma Kalpa Iha Bhagavata Dvidiya Skando Diva Purana Vritam Esha Datre Tasyaiva Nama Harisharva Mukam Jagata Sri Madhava Shiva Paropi Purana Sari
I think second line, first word, Skandho Ditam Vapuranavritamesha Dhatre.
Skando Ditam Vapurana Prita Isha Datre. Sorry. Yasva Prakritya Nuguna Girisham Bhajante Tesham Palam Hi Dridayaiva Tadiya Bhaktya Vyaso Hitena Kritavan Adhikari Etoho Skandadikeshu Tabahani Vachorta Vadaihi Bhutartha Kirtir Anubada Viruddhavadau Tridartha Vada Tredartha Tredartha Vada Gatayah Kalurochanartaha Skandadikeshu Bhavotra Vidurta Vadaha Twatwama Sattva Paribhutyupa Shikshanadyaha.
The third line, first word, Skandadi, okay? You said
Skandadi soltale.
Skandadi Keshu. Ah sound.
Skandadi, sorry.
Yeah.
Yat kinchat apya vidushapi vibho mayoktam tanmatra sastra vachanadhyabhi dhritameva Vyaksokti saramaya bhagavatopagita kleshan vidhuya kuru bhakti baram paratman.
Very good. Okay, we'll continue from 93. I think we finished the first two stanzas. We'll start from 3. I think Sujata Garu, Shanti, you both had to leave early, right? So you can be for the first half. So stanza 3. त्वत्कारुण्ये प्रवृत्ते कैव न हि गुरुः लोकवृत्तेऽपि भूमन् सर्वाक्रान्तापि भूमिर्न हि चलति ततः सत्क्षमां शिक्षयेयं गृह्णीयामीश तत्तद्विषयपरिचरेऽप्यप्रसक्तिं समीरात् व्याप्तद्वञ्चात्मनो मे गगनगुरुवशात् भातु निर्लेपता च. So like we have started this one by saying this is going to be the lessons from the various gurus, right? So like I was telling last time in the Uddhava Gita, which is when Krishna was about to depart and Uddhava is coming and asking for some last minute, don't leave. He is forcing Krishna. So Krishna gives him instructions to Uddhava. That is the Uddhava Gita. So in that Uddhava Gita, Krishna talks about a conversation that happens between a king, Yadu, and a Brahmana and a Brahmin, where King Yadu is going and asking the Brahmin, you as a Brahmin, you are supposed to engage in a lot of these spiritual activities, religious activities, but you don't seem to be involved in any of those. But you still seem to be leading a life which is completely detached from all material desires. You seem to have a strong control over your senses. How is it possible? You are not doing any of the religious activities. How is it possible? So, for that, the Brahmin replies that what I have done, O Yadu, is I've actually taken the shelter of 24 gurus. So he's going to then talk about each of the stanzas, three gurus or four gurus, right, as to who this is. So the first one he's talking about is nature. So earth, trees, mountains, kind of if you think of that category, right? He says that a person by observing all of these, what you can learn from it. So the first one on earth, tree, and mountains, he says that when you look at a mountain has trees that grow in it, streams that come from it. Trees give us vegetables, fruits, etc. And none of these ask us for anything in return. So they are completely devoted to the service of others without expecting anything in return, right? It rains, the tree grows, it gives us fruits and vegetables, we cut it from that, and the tree doesn't expect anything in return. He says that's how you should also behave. Do service to others without expecting anything in return, number one. Then from the mountains and even the earth, he says people walk on the earth, people stamp the earth, people put all kind of stuff on the earth, and the earth takes it all in, right? So he says that is a forbearance that I'm actually learning from the earth, tree, and the mountains. So he says that is the first guru. The second guru he talks about is wind. So he says in this world there are people have good qualities and bad qualities. You come across people you interact with people who have good and bad qualities. He says you should be like a wind. So when the wind is actually going across and there is a bad smell, some garbage that is there, the wind gets a sense of it, but the wind inherently, the air does not absorb those qualities. It just keeps flowing on. The next time it goes over fresh flowers, it gets a fresh smell, but it doesn't actually take anything like that. It does not get attached to it. It just moves on and it is free from that. He says similarly you may come across people with good and bad qualities, but kind of move along and don't get too absorbed into that. The third guru that is being mentioned here is the sky. So he says anywhere you see in this world, you look up, you see the sky. So anywhere you see, it is there. And the sky is also all encompassing, covering everything. So similarly, he says, although your body is made up of the Panchabhutam, you should see that the spirit which is there, the same sky appears everywhere, right? Assuming the weather is the same. You're sitting here, tomorrow you go to India, you see the same sky, but it's cloudy, it's cloudy. If it is sunny, it's nice and blue, it looks nice and blue. So he says, similarly, the soul is the same no matter across any person you look into. However, it is there across each person, but also it's the same thing that is common for everybody. It's just only one Paramatma who's there across everybody. He says, these are the three lessons I've learned. Okay, so the first two lines. So, Tvat Karunye Pravritte Ka Iva Nahi Guruhu. So, put a Visarga comma there. The next word on top of the Loka, there is a Ir that goes away. Loka Vrittepi Bhuman, comma. Sarva Krantapi Bhumir Nahi Chalati Tataha. That is there. Remove that is, put a Visarga, comma, Tataha. Satkshamam Shikshayeyam. Tvatkarunhe pravritte ka iva nahi guruhu lokavrittepi bhuman sarvakrantapi bhumir nahi chalati tatah satshamam shikshayeyam.
त्वत्कारुण्ये प्रवृत्ते कयव नहि गुरुः लोकवृत्तेऽपि भूमन् सर्वाक्रान्तपि भूमिर्नहि चलति ततः सत्क्षमां शिक्षयेयम् त्वत्कारुण्ये प्रवृत्ते कयव नहि गुरुः लोकवृत्तेऽपि भूमन् सर्वाक्रान्तपि भूमिर्नः चलति ततः सत्क्षमां शिक्षयेयम्.
त्वत्कारुण्ये प्रवृते इव न हि गुरुः लोकवृत्ते विभूमन् सर्वाक्रान्तापि भूमिर्न हि चलति ततः सत्क्षमां निशिक्षयेयम् त्वत्कारुण्ये प्रवृते इव न हि गुरुः लोकवृत्ते विभूमन् सर्वाक्रान्ताभिभूमिर्न हि चलति ततः सक्षमां शिक्षयेयम्
Grinniyam isha, comma, tat, so that next word, tat vishaya parichayepya prasaktim. So that parichayepya, you have to say it together because that S symbol is coming. So parichayepya prasaktim samirate, comma, vyaptat van chatmano me, comma, gagana guru vashat bhatu nirlepatacha. गृह्णीयामीश तत्तद् विषय परिचयेप्य प्रसक्तिं समीराथ व्याप्तत् वंचात्मनो मे गगन गुरुवशात् भातु निर्लेपता च
गृह्णीयामीश तद्विषयपरिचयेऽप्य प्रसक्तिं समीरात् व्याप्तत्वं चात्मनो मे गगनगुरुवशात् भातु निर्लेपता च गृह्णीयामीश तद्विषयपरिचयेऽप्य प्रसक्तिं समीरात् व्याप्ततत्त्वं चात्मनो मे गगनगुरुवशात् भातु निर्लेपता च
गृह्णीयामि च तत्विषय परिचयेभ्य परसक्तिं समीरात् व्याप्तत्वञ्जात्मनो मे गगनगुरुवशात् भातु निर्लेपता च.
Shanti, the third line after Grinniyamish, there's a pause, okay?
Okay. गृह्णीयामि स तत्विषय परिचयेभ्य परसक्तिं समीरात् व्याप्तत्वञ्चात्मनो मे गगनगुरुवशात् भातु निर्लेपता च.
Third line, the prasaktim. I think you're saying para, you're saying prasaktim.
Prasaktim, okay.
Yeah. Stanza 4. Swachhasyam pavanoham madura udakavat vannivanmasma grinham sarvanhinopi dosham tarushutamivamam mam sarvabhuteshvaveyam pushtirnashtikkalanham shashina ivatanoho natmanostiti vidyam toyadivyastamatartandavadapi cha tanushvekatam tvatprasadhat. So in this, he's covering 4 gurus. We saw 3 gurus in the last one. Here he's covering 4 gurus. So first he talks about water. He says a saintly person, what you call a perfect saint, is like a fresh water that is actually coming from a glacier. So when you can't think of the water that is coming from a glacier, it is fresh, clean water, free of all contamination. It is very gentle, and even the sound of it, it creates a very beautiful vibration, right? It's very nice for us to even hear the sound of the flowing water, right? So just by seeing the water, you get pleasure. By touching the water, your body gets cleaned. By drinking the water, you get, you are able to fulfill your thirst and everything. So just like that, he said you should be like a saintly person, that whoever is looking at you, touching you, interacting you, by just being around with you, they actually feel much more pleasant and calm and clean. Says that's what. So please bless me so that I be like a clean, fresh water that is coming off a glacier. Second one he talks about is Vanni. Vanni means Agni, which is fire. So in I think this one topic is going to keep coming through these 24 gurus is primarily around our tongue, right, and what we eat. So here he says I should be like fire, which is whatever food comes my way, I'm going to eat it, right? So whatever is in my destiny. So by chance, if I end up eating some food which is not good, I should take it as my destiny and consume that food. Just like whatever you put in Agni, it is going to consume it and burn it, right? And the Agni does not get impacted. You put good food, it's going to burn into that Agni. You put bad food, contaminated food, Agni is still going to burn it. right? Agni is not going to get impacted by that. So similarly, he says, whatever, food comes your way, you should be able to eat it and may also be unaffected by the food, just like how the fire remains unaffected by whatever food you put into it, right? And the third one he talks about is around moon. So he says, when you look at our lives, right, when you are small, then you become big, and then you grow to be an adult, and then you become old, etc. Or you look at, the various phases we go through our life. He says this is just like the various phases of the moon. Just because the moon appears to be waxing, the moon appears to be waning, the moon actually does not get affected. It is just how it looks like, right? So it is doing is it's just reflecting the sunlight which is coming, and then it looks like in various shapes. So similarly, he says you should think of us, right, as just a reflection of the soul is the same. It does not change like the moon, but when you look at it, we look like we're a small kid, we are becoming an adult, we're becoming like a youth, and so on. It is changing. So he says that is what I learn about the soul from the moon. Then the last one, kind of related to the same soul itself, he talks about the sun. So he says the sun, when it is reflecting the light, when you are driving, it is falling on your mirror, it is falling on, when the sun reflects on water, it looks different. When it reflects on oil, it looks different. On metal, it looks different. However, the sun is only the same sun, it remains the same. So similarly, he says the soul remains the same. Going into my body, it looks like a male. Going into some other body, it looks like a female. It looks like a different colored person depending on whose body it gets into. But the soul does not have any of these inherent features. It remains the same. So that's what I've learned about the soul from both the moon and the sun. So Swachchaha put is Swachchasyam Pavanoham, Madura Udaka Vad Vanni Vanma Sma Grinnam, Grinnam, Sarvaninopi Dosham, Tarushu Tamiva Mam, Sarva Bhuteshva Veyam. Swachchasyam Pavanoham, Madura Udakavat Vanni Vanma Sma Grinnam, Sarvaninopi Dosham, Tarushu Tamiva Mam, Sarva Bhuteshva Veyam.
स्वच्छस्यां पावनोऽहं मधुरवुदकवद्वह्निवन्मस्मां वुदकवद्वह्निवन्मस्मास्म गृह्णां सर्वान्नीनोऽपि दोषं तरुषु तमिव मां सर्वभूतेष्ववेयाम् स्वच्छस्यां पावनोऽहं मधुरवुदकवद्वह्निवन्मस्मा
Vanma Sma Grinnam.
वन्मास्म गृह्णां सर्वान्नीनोऽपि दोषं तरुषु तमिव मां सर्वभूतेष्ववेयाम्
स्वच्छस्यां भावनोऽहं मधुर उदकवत् वह्निवन्मास्म गृह्णां सर्वान्नीनोऽभिदोषं तरुषु तमिव मां सर्वभूतेष्ववेयाम् स्वच्छस्यां भावनोऽहं मधुर उदकवत् वह्निवन्मास्म गृह्णां सर्वान्नीनोऽभिदोषं तरुषु तमिव मां सर्वभूतेष्ववेयाम्
Pushtir Nashtihi, put a ich sound. Nashtih Kalanam Shashina Iva Thanoho, put a visargan comma, Thanoho. Next line, the ir goes away. Natmanostiti Vidyam, comma, Toyadi Vyasta Martanda Vadapicha, comma, Tanushvekatam Tvat Prasadat. पुष्टिर्नष्टिकलानां शशिन इव तनोः नात्मनोऽस्तीति विद्यां तोयादिव्यस्तमार्ताण्डवदपि च तनुष्वेकतां त्वत्प्रसादात्
पुष्टिर्नष्टिः कलानां शशिनयवतनोः नात्मनोऽस्तीति विद्यां तोयादिव्यस्तमार्ताण्डवदपि च तनुष्वेकृतां त्वत्प्रसादात् पुष्टिर्नुष्टिः कलानां शशिनैवतनोः नात्मनोऽस्तीति विद्यां तोयादिव्यस्तमार्ताण्डवदपि च तनुष्वेकतां तत्प्रसादात्
पुष्टिर्नष्टिः कलानां शशिन इव धनोः नात्मनोऽस्तीति विद्यां तोयादिव्यस्तमार्ताण्डवदपि च तनुष्वेगतां त्वत्प्रसादात् पुष्टिर्नष्टिः कलानां शशिन इव धनोः नात्मनोऽस्तीति विद्यां तोयादिव्यस्तमार्ताण्डवदपि च तनुष्वेगतां त्वत्प्रसादात्
Stanza 5. स्नेहाद्याधातपुत्रप्रणयमृतकपोतायितो मास्म भुवं प्राप्तं प्राश्नन् सहेयक्षुतमपि शयुवत् सिन्धुवत् श्यामगाधः मापप्तं योषिधाधौ शिखिनिशलभवत् भृङ्गवत् सारभागी भूयासं किन्तु तद्वद्धनचयनवशान्माहमीश प्रणेशम्. So we saw 3 in stanza 3, 4 gurus in stanza 4. Now stanza 5, he talks about 5 gurus. So first he talks about a pigeon. So one example. He says like this whole chapter started with Bandhu Sneham Vijakyam. He says for me to finally attain liberation, I should completely be detached from my bandhus, from my friends and family. I do not have attachment to them. That's how he starts the whole Dashakam itself. So here the pigeon, he says, it's very similar. He said one should not have very excessive affection, with anybody or anything, especially with anybody. He says if you have excessive affection with anybody, including your family, it says you're going to end up like this foolish pigeon, where he talks about the story of a pigeon where it has a husband pigeon, a wife pigeon. The husband takes care of the wife, brings it the food and everything. Then they have children. But what happens one day is when they're just stepped out to gather food, a hunter comes and takes the baby pigeons away. So he says now the entire pigeon's life is devastated. He says you get so carried away with attachment to people that you forget why you are even born in the first place, because you're so attached to everybody and everything around you. So he says just so do not be like that pigeon where you're getting sucked into this thing. As the first guru, he says pigeon. The second guru he talks about is the python or a snake. So this again, like I said, everything comes back to the food, right? Because that is the biggest culprit. He says that the python lies wherever it is, whichever animal or creature comes its way, it ends up swallowing it. So similarly, it doesn't care about if it's a tasty animal or a non-tasty animal. He says similarly, like we spoke about earlier, like the fire, like similar to the python also, he says whatever a saint should just eat whatever food comes his way. Certain days he may not even get the food. So in that case, you should assume that this day Bhagavan does not intend for me to eat anything and not be worried about it. So he says with that you remain calm and patient like the python with whatever food is coming your way. As the second one. The third one he talks about here is like the Sindhuvat. Sindhu is referring to ocean. She says, what is the? She says when the rainy season comes, the rivers get flooded. Right? The rivers overflow. The rivers all then flow into the ocean. When summer comes, the rivers run patch dry. Nothing flows into the ocean. But he says the ocean still remains the same. Right? He says similarly, your mind should be like an ocean. He says sometimes you may get a lot of good things, material things, because of the blessings of the God. Certain times you may not get anything. So no matter whether you get a lot or you don't get a lot, your mind should remain the same and steady, just like how the ocean is. The next one he talks about is like a moth, Shalabhavat. So Shalabhavat referring to the moth. So here he says, and this is, there are certain things he tells for the women, certain things for the men. So here specifically is giving for men, the example he gives is, if you do not control your senses and you very easily fall for other women, which is all created by the, the illusory thing of the Lord. He says, when a woman talks nicely, smiles nicely, dress up nicely, then your mind is immediately captivated, and then men end up falling as an easy prey, just like how a moth knows fire is dangerous, but the moment it sees a fire, the moth falls right into the fire, which actually ends up burning the moth. So he says that's what I learned from the moth, not to fall for that. Then the last one he talks about here, the fifth one, is about a bee, right? So like a honeybee. So he says again, similar to the food only, here it talks about, just like how it goes from flower to flower, sometimes, getting the B. Similarly, he says you just go from house to house, whatever you get, you get. And also another important thing is not to accumulate, because eventually it'll all get taken away. Some of that will continue into the next stanza also, but those are the 5 gurus in this stanza. So Snehat Vyadhat Putra Pranaya Mrita Kapothayito Ma Sma Bhuvam. This entire line is continuous, so comma at the very end. Praptam Prashnan Saheya Kshudamapi Shayuvat, comma, Sindhuvat Syamagadaha. Snehat Vyadhata Putra Pranaya Mritakapotayito Masma Bhuvam Praptam Prashnan Saheya Kshudamapi Shayuvat Sindhuvat Syamagadaha.
स्नेहाद्यादात्तपुत्रप्रणयमृतकपोतायितो मास्म भुवं प्राप्तं प्राश्नन् सहेयक्षुधमपि शयुवत् सिन्धुवत्स्यामगाधः स्नेहाद्यादात्तपुत्रप्रणयमृतकपोतायितो मास्म भुवं प्राप्तं प्राश्नन् सहेयक्षुधमपि शयुवत् सिन्धुवत्स्यामगाधः.
ராஜேஷ், எங்க புக்ஸ்ல கொஞ்சம் டிஃப்ரெண்டா இருக்கீங்க.
In
ஸ்னேஹாத்யாதாஸ்த புத்திர வியசனம்ருத கபோதாயிதோ மாஸ்ம புவம்னு இருக்கு.
okay, so just can you change it to Pranaya Mrita Kapotayito?
So I need to strike off vyasana.
Vyasana, and I think you had another word. So it's Pranaya Mrita.
Okay. स्नेहाद्यादात्तपुत्र प्रणयमृतकबोधायितो मास्म भुवं प्राप्तं प्रास्नन् सहेयक्षुतमपि सयुवत् सिन्धुवत् श्यामगातः. स्नेहाद्यादात्तपुत्र प्रणयमृतकबोधायितो मास्म भुवं प्राप्तं प्रास्नन् सहेयक्षुतमपि सयुवत् सिन्धुवत् श्यामगातः.
Ma Paptam Yoshidadau Shikini Shalabhavat, comma, Bhringavat Sara Bhagi, and then put a plus Bhuyasam, and then a comma. So one comma after Shalabhavat, another comma after Bhuyasam, comma. Kintu Tad Vad Dhana Chayana Vashan Mahamisha Pranesham. Mapaptam Yoshidadau Shikinishalabhavat Bhringavat Sarabhagi Bhuyasam Kintu Tadvad Dhanachayana Vashan Mahamisha Pranesham.
मापप्तं योषिदाधौ शिखिनिशलभवतु भृङ्गवत्सारभागी भूयासं किन्तु तद्वद्धनचयनवशान् माहमीश प्रणेशम्. मापप्तं योषिदाधौ शिखिनिशलभवतु भृङ्गवत्सारभागी भूयासं किन्तु तद्वद्धनचयनवशान् माहमीश प्रणेशम्.
मापप्तं योषिदादौ शिखिनिसलभवत् भृङ्गवत्सारबाही भूयासं किन्तु तद्वत्तनशयन वसान् मागमीश प्रणेशम्. मापप्तं योषिदादौ शिखिनिसलभवत् भृङ्गवत्सारबाही भूयासं किन्तु तद्वत्तनशयन वसान् मागमीश प्रणेशम्.
Stanza 6. Ma Bhadhyasam Tarunya Gaja Iva Vashaya Narjayeyam Dhanaugham Hartanyastam Himadvi Hara Iva Mrigavanma Muham Gramya Geetaihi Natya Sajjeya Bhoje Jasha Iva Bhalishe Pingalavan Nirasha Supyam Bhartavya Yogat Kurara Iva Vibho Samishonye Nahanye. He talks about 6 gurus in this. So the first one is Gaja, referring to an elephant. So very similar to kind of what we saw earlier, right? Of falling, so he, like a moth example, he says a male elephant, sometimes when it sees a female elephant, it then falls for it. But what happens is the female elephants will have other bull elephants, which are other stronger male elephants, which also fall for it, and all of them end up beating this other male elephant unnecessarily. So similarly, again, he says control your senses so you don't you don't fall for the sense gratifications, right? That's a key takeaway on the gaja, on the elephant. The second one is that related to the honey again, the honey gathering bees. He says these bees spend a lot of time collecting honey, right? Eventually, for the human to finally come and take it, to the extent that the bees are not able to enjoy it, right? So he says similarly, the wealth is like that. You end up collecting, accumulating so much wealth. Eventually, you don't end up spending or using any of it. Now, that doesn't mean that you spend all your wealth. You just don't unnecessarily collect more wealth than you actually need, right? Just like what is happening to the honey gatherers, the bees here. The third one is referring to Mriga Vanma, deer. So a deer, when the hunter has to capture the deer, he plays a very sensual type of song, a certain type of music. And what happens is the deer falls prey to that music because it thinks its mate is calling, and then it actually runs towards it. Similarly, he says the music, the type of music and songs you listen to is also going to influence your mind. So he says, don't fall for such attractive music which is going to take your senses in the wrong direction, similar to how a deer falls. The next one is a fish. Now we all know, for people, how people fish when you do fishing is because of the fish's tongue, right? The fish sees a bait which is a food for the fish, and the fish wants to eat it, and the fish is going to end up biting it, which means the person fishing is going to get the fish. So similarly, he says do not fall for food items. Again, it keeps coming back to this tongue, right? Because that's the biggest culprit amongst all the senses. So similarly, he says similar to the fish falling for the bait, be careful, learn to control your senses, so don't fall for a lot of these food items, right? Which is very hard, but he says that is the culprit which is there. Then he talks about a lady called Pingala. So the Pingala was actually a prostitute who used to be there. So every evening she used to go serve her customers. So one night, that was her mode of sustenance, right? That's how she used to make money, is with being with other customers. So one night, this Pingala was waiting for a really long time. Not a single person comes to her. And then she's like panicking because that is her source of income. And then all the entire night passes by. At one point, she comes to the realization after so many years, saying, what am I doing? I dress myself up so much. I give up my entire body, right, for the benefit of, for the pleasure of others. And today, even though I'm doing all this, not a single person came to me, right? So she really completely started feeling detached from that situation. So at that point, she became more happy. She says it's okay, and then that's when she came to the realization that, what am I doing? And she comes to that all these positions that she's going to get, she questions herself, is it really worth it, right? She says that's, so the Pingala is an example of all the things we all do to accumulate money. A lot of times we do useless things to accumulate money, and the question is it really worth it, right? How do you come to that realization? And the last thing is about a kurara. Kurara is a type of bird, a hawk. It's a hawk. So one hawk goes and gets a meat. The moment that hawk gets a meat, we have seen how all the other birds come running behind this hawk, and they try to pluck that one meat or one item that one bird has, right? So this one kurara bird, when all these people are coming, it was running and they all keep chasing it, they all keep fighting. The kurara at one point, it let that meat go. The moment it left that meat go, it actually felt a sense of satisfaction. So it says, only because I was having this meat, everybody's coming after me, everybody's trying to fight with me. The moment they left that meat go, it became more satisfied. The point again being, the more you dispose of your things, the more satisfaction you're going to get. He says, that's what lesson I'm learning from this Kurara bird. So Sikh gurus here, he's talking. So ma badhyasam tarunya gaja iva vashaya, comma, narjayeyam dhanaugham, comma, hartan yastam hi madvihara iva, comma, mrigavanma muham gramya geetaihi. Ma badhyasam tarunya gaja iva vashaya, narjayeyam dhanaugham, hartan yastam hi madvihara iva, mrigavanma muham gramya geetaihi. Sujata, you're on mute.
मा बध्यासं तरुण्या गज इव वशया नार्जयेयं धनौघं हर्तान्यस्तं हि माध्वीहर इव भृगवन्मामुहं ग्राम्यगीतैः मा बध्यासं तरुण्या गज इव वशया नार्जयेयं धनौघं हर्तान्यस्तं हि माध्वीहर इव भृगवन्मामुहं ग्राम्यगीतैः
मा भत्यासं तरुण्या गज इव वशया नार्जयेयं धनौकं हर्तान्यस्तं हि माध्वीहर इव मृगवन्मामुहं ग्राम्यगीतैः मा भत्यासं तरुण्या गज इव वशया नारजयेयं धनौकं हर्तान्यस्तं हि माध्वीहर इव मृगवन्मामुहं ग्राम्यगीतैः.
Shanti, in the first line, Narjayeyam.
Okay.
Nathya Sajjeya Bhojye Jasha Iva Balishe, comma, Pingala Vannirashaha is there. Put a is to join. Pingala Vannirashas Supyam Bhartavya Yogat. So, comma after that. So, plus at the end of the third line, comma after Yogat. Kurara Iva Vibho Samishonyair na Hanyai. Natya Sajjeya Bhojye Jasha Iva Balishe Pingala Vannirasha Supyam Bhartavya Yogat Kurara Iva Vibho Samishonyair na Hanyai.
नात्यासज्जेय भोज्ये जशयव बलिसे पिङ्गलावन्निराशः सुप्यां भर्तव्ययोगात् कुररेव विभो सामिशोऽन्यैर्न हन्यै नात्यासज्जेय भोज्ये जशयव बलिशे पिङ्गलावन्निराशः सुप्यां भर्तव्ययोगात् कुररेव विभो सामिशोऽन्यैर्न हन्यै
नात्यासज्जेय भोज्ये जश इव बडिसे पिङ्गलावन्निरासः सुभ्यां भर्तव्ययोगात् कुरर इव विभो सामिशोऽन्यैर्न हन्यै.
Shanti, in the third line, end Nirashas, you put a is to join that line, okay? And then comma is after Bhartavya Yogat in the fourth line.
But okay. नात्यासज्जेय भोज्ये जश इव पडिसे बिङ्गलावन्निराशः सुभ्यां भर्तव्ययोगात् कुरर इव विभो सामिशोऽन्यैर्न हन्यै.
You're saying Vannirashaha, you're saying the end of the third line. Because we are combining it with the fourth line, that Visarga becomes a is. So Pingala Vannirashas Supya. Okay. Is sound comes there.
Okay, thank you.
Answer 7. Varteya Tyaktamanah Sukamati Shishuvan Nissahayascharehyam Kanyaya Ekashesho Valaya Iva Vibho Varjitanyonya Ghoshaha Tvachitto Navabudhyai Paramishukriti Vakshma Bridayana Ghosham Geheshvanya Praniteshu Ahiriva Nivasan Yundaror Mandireshu. He says the first 4 gurus here. The first guru is a child, a small child. He says, we all care so much about our reputation. We all are so anxious about what others think of us. But when you look at a small child, it doesn't care about its honor or reputation. It doesn't know what it is, right? It just goes on living its life. She says, similarly, don't worry about what others are thinking about you. That's a lesson from a child. Then the second is Kanyaya, so from a young girl. So the story goes that one day some people come to someone's house. There's only one, that young girl is there, right? Who's and then all guests come for food. So they come, but there's no food at home. So she has to go and crush rice or crush wheat or something. So and she doesn't want the guests to know that she's cooking food. So when she goes to the kitchen and she starts moving her hand, right, breaking the rice, she sees that her bangles are hitting against each other. So what she does is she removes all her bangles. She just keeps one bangle on each hand. And even then, when she was trying to break the rice, those two bangles were hitting against each other. So what she does is she removes even one bangle and she only keeps one bangle. So that way there'll be no noise that will come out of the bangle and people won't know that she's cooking. But the lesson that she's learning from this is, no matter how you are, no matter who you are, the moment you stay with one other person, conflicts are bound to happen. And you stay with a lot of people, which is a lot of bangles the Kanya had in her hand, more problems are going to be created, right? So that's the lesson he's saying. There's no, so you have to be very careful the moment you start living with anybody for that matter, even if it's one extra person. And the third one he talks about is about Ishakut, which is the one who, the arrow, the one who makes the arrows. So the person who's making the arrow is so focused that he does not even know that the king is walking by for whom he's making the arrow. She's remained very focused. That's the third one. And the last one, again, he is talking about the snake, but in the context of not food. We saw Python about food, but here he talks about the snake in the context of the snake just goes wherever it finds a hole, it gets in. And most times it gets into the hole of the rat, right? So it says do not keep build possessions of house, etc. Just keep moving, right? Which is what Bhattacharya talks in the third Dashakam, saying that may I just keep moving without a permanent place of my own, right? So varteya tyaktamanaha, comma, sukhamati shishu van nissahayash chareyam, comma, kanyaya ekashesho valaya iva vibho, comma, वर्जितान्योन्य घोषः वर्तेयत्यक्तमानः सुखमतिशिशुवन्निस्सहायश्चरेयं कन्याया एकशेषो वलय इव विभो वर्जितान्योन्य घोषः
वर्तेयत्यक्तमानः शिशुवन्निस्सहायश्चरेयं कन्याया एकशेषो वलय इव विभो वर्जितान्योन्यघोषः वर्तेयत्यक्तमानः सुखमतिशिशुवन्निस्सहायश्चरेयं कन्याया एकशेषो वलय इव विभो वर्जितान्योन्यघोषः.
Shanti, mute little.
वर्तेयत्यक्तमानः सुगमदि निस्सहायस्सरेयं कन्याया एकशेषो वलय इव विभो वर्जितान्योन्यकोशः वर्तेयत्यक्तमानः सुखमदि निस्सहायस्सरेयं कन्याया एकशेषो वलय इव विभो वर्जितान्योन्यकोशः
त्वच्चित्तो नाव बुद्ध्यै, परमिषु कृदिव क्ष्माभृतायान घोषम. So half ksha, क्ष्माभृतायान घोषम, geheshvanya praniteshu. So the ish and va that is there, you remove the ish and the va and put a shu. So geheshvanya praniteshu, next word starts with a, ahiriva nivasan yundaror mandireshu. Both of them are short oos. त्वच्चित्तो नाव बुद्ध्यै परमिषु कृदिव क्ष्माभृदायान घोषं गेहेष्वन्य प्रणीतेषु अहिरिव निवसान्युन्दरोर्मन्दिरेषु.
त्वच्चित्तो नावबुद्ध्यै परमिषु कृदि वक्ष्माभृदायानघोषं गेहेष्वन्यप्रणीतेषु अहिरिव निवसान्युन्दुरोर्विशुन्दिरेषु
Yundaror mandireshu. I think I heard something different.
Okay. Yeah. त्वच्चित्तो नावबुद्ध्यै परमिषु कृदि वक्ष्माभृदायानघोषं गेहेष्वन्यप्रणीतेषु अहिरिव निवसान्युन्दुरो मन्दिरेषु.
त्वच्चित्तो नावबुद्ध्यै परमिषु कृतिव क्ष्मापृदायानघोषं केशेह्वन्यप्रणिदेषु अहरिव निवसान् बुन्धुरोर्मन्दिरेषु त्वच्चित्तो नावबुद्ध्यै परमिषु कृतिव क्ष्मापृदायानघोषं गेहेन्वन्यप्रणीदेषु अहरिव निवसान् बुन्धुरोर्मन्दिरेषु.
Shanti, the fourth line, first word, gehesh-ish sound.
गेहेष्वन्यप्रणीदेषु. Okay.
Yeah, correct. Okay, we can just switch halfway. Ram, are you on?
Yes, Rajesh.
And then Usha Garu, if you can be student. Stanza 8. त्वय्येव त्वत्कृतं त्वं क्षपयसि जगतिर्यूर्णनाभात् प्रतीयां त्वच्चिन्ता त्वत्स्वरूपं कुरुत इति दृढं शिक्षये पेशकारात् बिड्भस्मात्मा च देहो भवति गुरुवरो यो विवेकं विरक्तिं धत्ते सञ्चिन्त्यमानो ममुतु बहुरुजा पीडितोऽयं विशेषात्. So the first one he talks about here is from a spider. So, when we look at a spider, we see that from the spider, it spins the entire web, it creates the entire house. And eventually the spider can actually swallow the entire web onto itself, the entire, whatever it's building, right? The web, it will swallow it. Similarly, he says that is how the entire creation has happened. It says the whole creation comes from Lord Narayana, from which everything comes, and eventually at the end of the appropriate pralaya happens, Naimitika pralaya or Prakritika pralaya, it all goes back into the same Lord. He says that is what I learn about creation, just like from learning about the spider. The second he talks about is a beetle. And I am not the expert in this, so I don't know how this works, but what the explanation is giving is a beetle brings a worm into its hole or its nest, and it keeps hitting the outer wall of the hole, because of which the worm takes the shape of the beetle, because the worm is thinking about the fear of the beetle all the time. The point he's trying to drive here is whoever you keep thinking about or whatever you keep thinking about through your life, and eventually at the time of your death, is the form you take in your next life. So if you keep thinking about, I didn't make enough money, or what happens to my money all the time, then the next birth, you're going to end up with money or no money, whatever that may be. So he says, keep thinking about Bhagavan all the time, so that, it will help you in the next birth also. The third one he talks about is, so when you kind of think of it, in stanza 3, we saw 3 gurus. In 4, 7, 5 was 5, so 12, 6 was 6, so 18, 7 was 4, so 22. Here we spoke about 2, so the spider and the beetle, 24. So I think, Ram, you were telling when last time it said 24 gurus in yours, right? I said there will be 25 gurus, because here Bhattaripad is saying, for me, this 24 gurus, I heard from the Brahmin who was telling to King Yadu, but he says, for me, there is a 5th, which is my body itself, right? He says, after going through so many challenges in my body and having suffering from his body, I realized that this body is nothing but a storehouse of, filth and just useless stuff, right? And he says this body is a great teacher in itself, because having gone through so much suffering with the disease that Bhattaripad is having, he's saying that I have learned so much that it has actually given me this opportunity to give up everything, because that is a big lesson the body is teaching, and he's going to talk a little bit more about it. So the body, the human body itself, is the 25th guru in this case. So tvayyeva tvatkritam tvam, shapayasi jagadit yurna nabhat. So you cannot break it. So jagadit yurna nabhat pratiyam, twachinta twatswarupam kuruta iti, dridam shikshaye peshakarat. त्वय्येव त्वत्कृतं त्वं क्षपयसि जगतिर्यूर्णनाभात् प्रतीह्यां त्वच्चिन्ता त्वत्स्वरूपं कुरुत इति दृढं शिक्षये पेशकारात्.
त्वय्येव त्वत्कृतं त्वं क्षपयसि जगदित्यूर्णनाभात् प्रतीयां त्वच्चिन्ता त्वत्स्वरूपं कुरुत इति दृढं शिक्षये पेशकारात् त्वय्येव त्वत्कृतं त्वं क्षपयसि जगदित्यूर्णनाभात् प्रतीयां त्वच्चिन्ता त्वत्स्वरूपं कुरुत इति दृढं शिक्षये पेशकारात्
त्वय्येव त्वत्कृतं त्वं क्षपयसि जगदि तूर्ण्यनाभात् प्रतीयां त्वच्चिन्ता त्वत्स्वरूपं कुरुत इति दृढं शिक्षये पेशकारात् त्वय्येव त्वत्कृतं त्वं क्षपयसि जगदि तूर्ण्यनाभात् प्रतीयां त्वच्चिन्ता त्वत्स्वरूपं कुरुत इति दृढं शिक्षये पेशकारात्
बिट् भस्मात्मा च देहो, भवति गुरुवरो यो विवेकं विरक्तिं, धत्ते संचिन्त्यमानो, मम तु बहु रुजा पीडितोऽयं विशेषात्. बिड्भस्मात्मा च देहो भवति गुरुवरो यो विवेकं विरक्तिं, धत्ते संचिन्त्यमानो मम तु बहुरुजा पीडितोऽयं विशेषात्.
विद्भस्मात्मा च देहो भवति गुरुवरो यो विवेकं विरक्तिं धत्ते संचिन्त्यमानो मम तु बहुरुजा पीडितोऽयं विशेषात् विद्भस्मात्मा च देहो भवति गुरुवरो यो विवेकं विरक्तिं धत्ते संचिन्त्यमानो मम तु बहुरुजा पीडितोऽयं विशेषात्
विद्भस्मात्मा च देहो भवति गुरुवरो ये विवेकं विरक्तिं दत्ते संचिन्त्यमानो मम तु बहुरुजा पीडितोऽयं विशेषात्.
Garu, the fourth line after sanchintya there is a comma, okay?
Oh, okay. विद्भस्मात्मा च देहो भवति गुरुवरो ये विवेकं विरक्तिं दत्ते संचिन्त्यमानो मम तु बहुरुजा पीडितोऽयं विशेषात्.
The third line after guru varo word, it's yo vivekam. You said ye vivekam. It's yo vivekam.
Yo vivekam. Okay. Yeah.
Answer 9. Hi me deha moham tyaja pavana puradisha yat prema hetoho gehe vitte kalatra dishu cha vibashitaha tvatpadam vismaranti soham vanneshu no va paramiha paratah sampratam chakshi karnatva jehvadhya vikarshanthyavashamatayitah kopina tvatpadabje. This is 25th guru of body. There's like one entire paragraph dedicated to it. So he says, all of us, right? And I'm no exception. That's why I always call out, right? Saying just because I'm telling it doesn't mean I follow it, right? So he says we all go through so much thing. We accumulate money, to take care of our family, take care of our children, take care of all the properties and everything. He says all of this, he says eventually is for, at some point, is to make one of our senses happy. That's what it is, right? At the end of the day, it's only for the sense gratification, for the gratification of the body, we do all of these things. And what he says is just like even when a tree is dying, the tree produces a seed which then results in the future tree. Similarly, he says when you die, when we all die, there is a seed that is produced, which is the seed of all the karma that we've accumulated, which then becomes the next tree. Like similarly, it becomes our next life, right? And because of all these priorities that we have, we get pulled in different directions. That is on the body and the senses. Of course, our senses, we don't have to say, whether it is our tongue, whether it is our eyes or ears, we all get pulled in different directions with different distractions which are actually happening, and we are not able to control our senses. And he says, after all these births, we finally have got a human life which has now given this opportunity to discriminate what is good, what is bad, but we do not put that mind to use, but we put all our senses to use. So he says, please, he may deha moham. He says, oh Guruvarappa, please give me this, get me to eliminate this infatuation I have towards my body and towards the senses, and all the other attractions I have, and finally make sure that I'm actually going to come toward Tvat Padabje and make all my attention be the focus of your feet and not the other distractions I'm having with body and senses and everything, which is the biggest guru. 25th guru is we ourselves are our guru here, right? So he me deha moham tyaja pavana puradhisha yat prema hetoho. So put a visarga at the end of that line. That entire line is continuous. Hetoho. Next line on top of that gehe, there is a ir that goes away. Gehe vitte kalatradishu cha vivashitaha. That is there, remove it, put a visarga comma. Vivashitaha. Tvatpadam vismaranti. Because of which we forget to pray for you, because we're getting so much distractions happening everywhere. Hi me deha moham tyaja pavana puradhisha yat prema hetoho gehe vitte kalatra dishucha vipashitaha tvatpadam vismaranti.
Hi me dehamoham tyaja pavana puradhisha yat prema hetoho gehe vitte kalatradishu cha vivashitaha tvatpadam vismaranti. Hi me dehamoham tyaja pavana puradhisha yat prema hetoho gehe vitte kalatradishu cha vivashitaha tvatpadam vismaranti.
Ihi me dehamoham tyaja pavana puradisha yat pramay hetoho
Yat prema hetoho.
yat prema hetoho gehe vitte kalatradisha cha vivishitaha tvatpradam vismaranti. Ihi me dehamoham tyaja pavana puradisha yat prema hetoho gehe vitte kalatradisha cha vivitaha gehe vitte kalatradisha cha vivashitaha tvatpadam vismaranti.
Soyam vannesh shunova paramiha parataha, comma, sampratan in sound, sampratan chakshikarna, put a plus, twag jihvadhya vikarshantyavashamata, that word is continuous, vikarshantyavashamata itaha, and then a comma. So one comma in the third line after parataha, then the third line at the end of the third line there's a plus, it goes all the way till shamata itaha, comma, kopi na tvat padabje. Soyam vanneshu no va paramiha paratah sampratan chakshikarna tvajjhvadhya vikarshantyavashamata itah kopi na tvat padabje.
Soyam bahneshu no va paramiha paratah sampratan chakshikarnatvajjihvadhya vikarshantyavashamataitah kopinat tvatpadabje. Soyam bahneshu no va paramiha paratah sampratan chakshikarnatvajjihvadhya vikarshantyavashamataitah kopinat tvatpadabje.
Soyam vahneshu no va paramiha parataha sampratam chakshikarna tvagni vikarshantyavashamataitaha kopinatvatpadabje. Sorry, any mistake? Soyam vahneshu no va paramiha parataha samprantyam chakshikarnatvagvijvadva vikarshantyavashamataitaha kopinatvatpadabje.
Yeah, that fourth line, first word, Ushagaru. Twag jihvadhya.
Oh,
Twag. No, twag, one word. Twag Jihvadya.
Tvag-jihvadya.
Yeah, correct. Jihva is tongue. So
Okay.
Tvag Jihvadya.
Tvag-jihvadya. Okay, thanks, Andy.
Stanza 10. Durvaro deha moho yadi punaradhuna tarhi nishesha rogan hritva bhaktim dradishtam kurutava pada pankeruhe pankajaksha nunam nana bhavante samadigatamimam muktidam vipradeham kshodre hahanta mama kshipa vishayarase pahimam marutesha. So while the first 8 are talking about the gurus and everything, the last 9th and 10th are direct prayers. 9th is telling that he may dehamogam, please eradicate the attachment I'm having towards my mind and my senses and everything, so that I remain focused on your feet. The 10th is saying, in case this obsession I have to my body and my senses is unavoidable, you are not able to remove that for me, at least do one thing. He says, at least nishesha rogan, at least remove all the ailments and the diseases and the problems I'm actually having, and give me bhaktim dradishtam, and give me unshakable, firm devotion towards you. At least give me that. If you're not able to remove the obsession I'm having with my body, oh pada pankeruhe pankajaksha, oh lotus eye Lord, please eliminate at least that, eliminate the diseases and give me firm devotion to you. And again, it continues saying that this birth which I've actually got as a little bit of a, not just a regular human birth. Now, in this case, majority of us, we have access to information, we have access to knowledge, right? A lot of them don't have access to that. So first of all, you got a human birth. Second is you got a human birth with access to knowledge. He says, this birth of mine, do not let it go to waste, right? So please, eradicate all the bad things and give me an opportunity to get liberated. So durvaro deha moho yadi punaradhuna, comma, tarhi nishesha rogan, put a plus. So tarhi nishesha rogan hritva, comma, bhaktim dradishtham kuru tava pada pankeruhe pankajaksha. Durvaro deha moho yadi punaradhuna tarhi nishesha rogan hritva bhaktim dradishtham kuru tava pada pankeruhe pankajaksha.
दुर्वारो देहमोहो यदि पुनरधुना तर्हि निःशेषरोगान् हृत्वा भक्तिं द्रढिष्टां कुरु तव पदपङ्केरुहे पङ्कजाक्ष दुर्वारो देहमोहो यदि पुनरधुना तर्हि निःशेषरोगान् हृत्वा भक्तिं द्रढिष्टां कुरु तव पदपङ्केरुहे पङ्कजाक्ष
Durvaro dehamoho yadi punaratuna tarhi nishesharogan rutva bhaktim drudishtam kurutava padapaha keruho pankajaksha.
Now, Shikaru, here, the first line after punaradhuna, there is a pause. Okay.
Oh,
Then
okay.
there's a
There is
plus at the end of that line. Nishesha rogan hritva. And then there is another comma there. Okay.
Oh, okay. Durvaro dehamoho yadi punaratuna tarhi nishesharogan rutva bhaktim drudishtam kuru tava rutva bhaktim drudishtam kuru tava padam keruhe pankajaksha.
Yeah, that hritva in the second line comes along with the first line end. So nishesha rogan hritva, then you stop. Then bhaktim dradishtam.
Oh, okay. Can I
Okay.
go one more time?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Durvaro dehamoho yadi punaratuna tarhi nishesharogan hrutva bhaktim drudishtam kuru tava padapam keruhe pankajaksha.
Correct. Yeah. So because nishesha rogan hritva is to eliminate. So eliminate
Okay.
the diseases and ailments I have. But bhaktim dradishtam, give me firm devotion. That's why you're pausing there. So
Oh, thanks.
Nunam nana bhavante, comma, samadhi gata mimam. Some books have samadhi gata mamum. If you have mamum, change it to mimam. So samadhigatamimam muktidam vipradeham, comma, kshudre ha hanta mama kshipa vishaya rase, comma, pahimam marutesha. Nunham nana bhavante samadhigatamimam muktidam vipradeham kshudre ha hanta mama kshipa vishaya rase pahimam marutesha.
नूनं नाना भवान्ते समधिगतमिमं मुक्तिदं विप्रदेहं क्षुद्रे हा हन्त मामा क्षिपविषयरसे पाहि मां मारुतेश नूनं नाना भवान्ते समधिगतमिमं मुक्तिदं विप्रदेहं क्षुद्रे हा हन्त मामा क्षिपविषयरसे पाहि मां मारुतेश
नूनं नाना भवान्ते समधिगतमिमं मुक्तिदं विप्रदेहं क्षुद्रे हा हन्त मामाक्षिप विषयरसे पाहि मां मारुतेश.
In the third line after nana bhavante, there is a comma. Okay. Nunam nana bhavante, then comma.
Okay. नूनं नाना भवान्ते समधिगतमिमं मुक्तिदं विप्रदेहं क्षुद्रे हा हन्त मामाक्षिप विषयरसे पाहि मां मारुतेश.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. That completes 93. So 94, let's just do a couple of stanzas. So certain paragraphs here, I'm going to tell the meaning. Otherwise, I'm not going to go into too much philosophy in 94. Stanza 1. Shuddha nishkama dharmaihi pravara gurugira tatswarupam paramte shuddham dehendriyadi vyapagatam vyaptama vedayante nanhatvasthaulya karshaditu गुणजवपु संगतोऽध्यासितं ते वर्णेर्दारुप्रभेदे शिव महदनुता दीप्तता शान्तताधि. All these 90s are long dasakams only. So Shuddha Nishkama Dharmaihi, comma, Pravara Guru Gira Tat Swarupam Paramte, comma, Shuddham Dehendriyadi Vyapagatam Akhila. You can break at that ma. Vyapagatam Akhila Vyaptam Avedayante. You can break at that ma if you want. Vyaptam Avedayante. That second line is continuous. Shuddha Nishkama Dharmaihi Pravara Gurugira Tatswarupam Paramte Shuddham Dehendriyadi Vyapagatam Akhila Vyaptam Avedayante.
शुद्धा निष्कामधर्मैः प्रवरगुरुगिरा तत्स्वरूपं परं ते शुद्धं देहेन्द्रियादिव्यपगतमखिलव्याप्तमावेदयन्ते शुद्धा निष्कामधर्मैः प्रवरगुरुगिरा तत्स्वरूपं परं ते शुद्धं देहेन्द्रियादिव्यपगतमखिलव्याप्तमावेदयन्ते
शुद्धा निष्कामधर्मैः प्रवरगुरुगिरा त्वत्स्वरूपं परन्ते शुद्धं देहेन्द्रियादिव्यपगतमखिलव्याप्तमावेदयन्ते शुद्धा निष्कामधर्मैः प्रवरगुरुगिरा त्वत्स्वरूपं परन्ते शुद्धं देहेन्द्रियादिव्यपगतमखिलव्याप्तमावेदयन्ते.
Shagaru, that first line, Tat Swarupam. You said Tvat Swarupam. Tat Swarupam.
Okay.
Nanatva Sthaulya Karshaditu, comma, Gunaja Vapus Sangato Dhyasitam. One word. Sangato Dhyasitam te, comma, Vanner Daru Prabedeshviva, comma, Mahadanuta Deeptata Shantatadi, short e. Nanhatvasthaulya Karshaditu Gunajavapu Sangato Dhyasitam te Vanner Daru Prabedeshviva महदनुतादित्तता शान्ततादि
नानात्वस्तौल्यकार्ष्यादितु गुणजवपुः सङ्गतोऽध्यासितं ते वह्नेर्दारुप्रभेदेष्वैव महदनुतादीप्तता शान्ततादि नानात्वस्थौल्यकार्ष्यादितु गुणजवपुः सङ्गतोऽध्यासितं ते वह्नेर्दारुप्रभेदेष्विव महदनुतादीप्तता शान्ततादि
नानात्वस्तौल्यकार्ष्यादितु गुणजवपुस्सङ्गतोऽध्यासितन्ते वन्येर्धातु प्रभेदेष्विव महदनुदात्तीप्तशान्ततादि नानात्वस्तौल्यकार्ष्यादितु गुणजवपुस्सङ्गतोऽध्यासितन्ते वन्येर्दारु प्रभेदेष्विव महदनुदात्तीप्तशान्ततादि.
Stanza 2, little bit of a tough stanza.
राजेश दशकं टाइटल ஒரு தடவை சொல்லுங்க.
This is Tattva Jnanotpatti Prakara Varnanam. So Tattva Jnanam. So what is the means of getting enlightened? It's a means of enlightenment. So Tattva Jnanotpatti Prakara Varnanam.
Okay, thanks.
Stanza 2. आचार्याख्याधरस्तारणि समनुमिलचिष्यरूपोत्तरारण्या वेदोद्भासितेन स्फुटतरपरिबोधाग्निना दह्यमाने कर्मालीवासना तत्कृततनुभुवन भ्रान्तिकान्तारपूरे दाह्या भावेन विद्या शिखिनि च विरते त्वन्मयी खल्ववस्था आचार्याख्या धरस्तारणी samanumilach, each sound, samanumilach, chishya rupotarara you have, so put a plus, so the rupotararan yavedhot, that has to come together, so rupotararan yavedhot bhasitena, comma, so the whole first line together, and after bhasitena, comma in the second line, sputathara pari bodhagnina dahyamane. आचार्याख्याधरस्तारनि समनुमिलच्छिष्य रूपोत्तरारण्या वेदोद्भासितेन स्फुटतर परिबोधाग्निना दह्यमाने.
आचाराख्याधरस्तारनि समनुमिलच्छिष्य रूपोत्तरारण्या वेदोद्भासितेन स्फुटतरपरिबोधाग्निना दह्यमाने. आचार्याख्याधरस्तारनि समनुमिलच्छिष्य रूपोत्तरारण्य वेदोद्भासितेन स्फुटतरपरिबोधाग्निना दह्यमाने.
आचार्याख्याधरस्तारणी समनुमिलच्छिष्यरूपोत्तरारण्य वेदोद्भासितेन स्फुटतरपरिबोधाग्निना दह्यमाने.
If you're having to take a brief pause for a breath, right, if you need to, take it after chishya, because a rupotararan yavedhot is coming together. Okay.
आचार्याख्याधरस्तारणी समनुमिलच्छिष्यरूपोत्तरारण्यो वेदोद्भासितेन स्फुटतरपरिबोधाग्निना दह्यमाने.
कर्माली वासना tat krita hanu bhuvana bhranti kantara pure, comma, so that again that line is together. Dahya bhavena vidya shikini cha virate, comma, tvanmayi khalvavastha. कर्माधि वासना तत्कृततनुभुवन भ्रान्तिकान्तारपूरे दाह्या भावेन विद्या शिखिनि च विरते त्वन्मयी खल्ववस्था.
कर्मालीवासना तत्कृततनुभुवन भ्रान्तिकान्तारपूरे दाह्या भावेन विद्या शिखिनि च विरते त्वन्मयी खल्ववस्था. कर्मालीवासना तत्कृततनुभुवन भ्रान्तिकान्तारपूरे दाह्या भावेन विद्या शिखिनि च विरते त्वन्मयी खल्ववस्था.
कर्माली वासना तत्कृततनुभुवन भ्रान्तिकान्तारपूरे दाह्या भावेन विद्या शिखिनि च विरते त्वन्मयी खल्ववस्था. कर्माली वासना तत्कृततनुभुवन भ्रान्तिकान्तारपूरे दाह्या भावेन विद्या शिखिनि च विरते त्वन्मयी खल्ववस्था.
Just do one more and stop today. एवं त्वत्प्राप्तितोऽन्यो न हि खलु निखिल क्लेशहानेरुपायो नैकान्तात्यन्तिकास्ते कृषिवदगदषाड्गुण्यषट्कर्मयोगाः दुर्वैकल्यैरकल्या अपि निगमपताः तत्फलान्यप्यवाप्ता मत्तास्त्वां विस्मरन्तः प्रसजति पतने यान्यनन्तान् विषादान्. एवं त्वत् प्राप्तितोऽन्यो, comma, nahi खलु निखिल क्लेश हानेरुपायो, comma, नैकान्तात्यन्ति कास्ते, comma, कृषि वदगद षाड्गुण्य षट्कर्म योगाः. एवं त्वत्प्राप्तितोऽन्यो न हि खलु निखिल क्लेशहानेरुपायो नैकान्तात्यन्तिकास्ते कृषि वदगद षाड्गुण्य षट्कर्मयोगाः.
एवं त्वत्प्राप्तितोऽन्यो न हि खलु निखिल क्लेशहानिरुपायो नैकान्तात्यन्तिकास्ते कृषिवदगदषाड्गुण्य षट्कर्मयोगाः. एवं त्वत्प्राप्तितोऽन्यो न हि खलु निखिल क्लेशहानिरुपायो नैकान्तात्यन्तिकास्ते कृषिवदगदषाड्गुण्य षट्कर्मयोगाः.
एवं त्वत्प्राप्तितोऽन्यो न हि खलु निखिल क्लेशहानेरुपायो नैकान्तात्यन्तिकास्ते कृषिवदगदषाड्गुण्यषट्कर्मयोगाः. एवं त्वत्प्राप्तितोऽन्यो न हि खलु निखिल क्लेशहानेरुपायो नैकान्तात्यन्तिकास्ते कृषिवदगदषाड्गुण्यषट्कर्मयोगाः.
दुर्वैकल्यैरकल्या अपि निगम पथाः. So that is there. Remove it. Put visarga comma pataha. Tat phalanyapyavapta, comma, mattas tvam vismarantaha, comma, prasajati patane yanyanantan vishadan. Durvaikalyairakalya api nigamapathaha tatphalanyapyavapta mattas-tvam vismarantaha prasajati patane yanyanantan vishadan.
दुर्वैकल्यैरकल्या अपि निगमपथाः तत्फलान्यप्यवाप्ताः मत्तास्त्वां विस्मरन्तः प्रसजति पतने यान्त्यनन्तान् विषादान्.
Rama, the third line enter is no visarga. Okay, just Yapyavapta.
Papta. Oh, okay. Durvaikalyairakalya api nigamapathaha tatpalanyapyavapta mattastvam vismarantaha prasajati patane yantyanantan vishadan.
दुर्वैकल्यैरकल्या अपि निगमपदाः तत्फलान्यप्यवाप्ता मत्तस्त्वां विस्मरन्तः प्रसजति पतने यान्त्यनन्तान् विषादान्.
Shagaru, that fourth line, Vismarantaha, and then there is a pause.
विस्मरन्तः. Okay. दुर्वैकल्यैर्यकल्या अपि निगमपदाः तत्फलान्यप्यवाप्ता मत्तस्त्वां विस्मरन्तः प्रसजति पतने यान्त्यनन्तान् विषादान्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namah. Stop here today. Sandhanandavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurusharthatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam आहेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.